Hello and welcome back everyone to Blended Geometry Nodes workshop for Jungle Vines. In the last lesson we set ourselves up with some nice length controls for the vine itself, but as you can see over here, now that we joined it back to the original geometry, it's not going to give us the right result. It's going to blur ourselves within regards to the curve, and it's just not looking quite right in regards to how it's being attached. We need to go ahead and fix that. The main reason it's doing this, by the way, is because we firstly make use out of the volume, which averages out and remeshes the topology. And we also, on top of that, make use out of the blur attributes, which again blurs out the overall values and giving us these kind of shapes where it's not quite touching the topology itself. So we need to go ahead and fix that basically. And for us to do that, we're going to, well, first of all, move this whole piece to the side. Actually, I'm going to just move this over here to the side. And I'm going to grab, I'm going to go ahead and grab the sample to nearest. We're going to sample the original curve. We're going to grab the same geometry from this point. We're going to sample nearest. So sample nearest over here, like so. Then the next thing that we need to do is, actually this line is getting in the way. So a quick tip in order to reorganize your lines is, quick thing, now that this line is getting across this node over here, in order to fix this, we can actually change up the way it's being routed up. We can control where the line is going. The easiest way to do that is if we hold shift and drag our mouse across like so, we're going to get this dotted line. Once we release it whilst it's going across the line, we're going to get this reroute dot over here. So by selecting this, we can now click G and move this to the side to actually move it away a little bit from this area like so. And it's quite useful to know, especially when we have some lines over here, for example, that end up crossing certain nodes. Again, we're going to go ahead and fix that in a bit. But for now, though, let's go ahead and finish this up to make sure that it's actually placed nicely on our surface. So for us to do that, again, we have the sample nearest, which samples the closest point. We need to make sure we change this to a base. So it's actually set to the closest base instead to the normal values of it. And now we're going to actually make use out of this value to sample the index, basically allow us to sample the selection itself. So let's go ahead and grab ourselves a sample index. We're going to attach this to the index value over here. So sampling the nearest index of each point of the curve. Then we're going to go ahead and grab this geometry over here. And we're going to attach this to the geometry value like so. As for the value, we're going to make use out of the normal value. So let's go ahead and search for normal, which will give us the normal for this geometry. We're going to input this into the value, just like that. We're then going to change this from point to face because we're getting ourselves the normals of each individual faces. So let's go ahead and change that. And then the float value, we need to change this to be allowing you to control the normal value itself. So that's going to be a vector value, a 3D value like so. And just like that, we'll be able to have nice control. Now to offset the value of the actual curve, we're going to move this actually a little bit to the side like so. And we're going to get from the trim curve, we're going to set position. We're going to search for set position like so. Grab set position, attach it to geometry. And we're going to offset this from the sample index. If we were to attach this to the offset, we can offset the entire setup like so. And it's actually not giving me the right results. I'm just wondering why. And just realized that I didn't connect the normal. So let me just go ahead and do that. And there we go. That's what we're getting. It's basically expanding it from outside the normal faces of the mesh. So each one of those faces is going to have a sort of a normal value. We can actually visualize them if you'd like. We can select one of the faces, for example. We can change it from global to normal. And this will give us the value. If we click on the move, we can see that the Z value is going to show where it's expanding it from. So that's basically how it's being used, the normal values. That's exactly the information that we're using. But again, this is a little bit too much. I will go back to global. I will exit the edit mode back to the object mode. And now let's go ahead and fix this value up. So the offset is way too much. Let's go ahead and lower this down. For us to do that, we're going to make use out of the maps node itself, but there is a different type when we're using the vector values. Vector values have 3 different values, X, Y, and Z. So we need to work on it accordingly. If we click Shift and A and search for vector maps, there is a value that will allow us to change all of them, all of the 3 ones at once. And we're going to change the scale. We're going to change the add to scale over here. Then this will allow us to basically change this value over here. And we're able to control how much is being offset from the original mesh. And again, I'm just going to hold Shift and just give us a small value just like that, just a little bit. So it will be offsetting off from the mesh. We can adjust this value in a bit. But for now, that's going to be more than enough. Since yeah, actually, we are going to make use out of this and set ourselves up with a custom parameter. We're going to go ahead and click on the plus symbol, click on input, change this to surface offset, like so, and change this minimum value to 0, and the maximum, I think we can change this to 1 as well, just in case people want some extreme values, like so. All right, so now the default can be 0.01, 0.02, like so. And we can attach this from group input. I'm going to go ahead and select this group input, click Shift and D, and just paste it off to the side just like that. And with this value, we should be able to have ourselves the right value. I'm going to go ahead and delete it to get the default value. So whenever we change the default value over here, if we have a different surface offset, in this case, surface offset value, if we have a different value over here, we can go ahead and just select it, click delete, click enter, and this will give us back the default value that we set ourselves up here. So that's quite a useful information to know. Now that we have a bit of an extra time, let's go ahead and clean up this mess a little bit. It is quite messy. I'd like to spend an entire lesson just showing you how to do certain bits, but for now I'm just going to move these a little bit off to the side, just like that. Going to perhaps make a new one over here, like so, and you can keep this just a little bit off to the side so they wouldn't get tangled up. These parts are okay, and again, we're going to clean up this entire section in a bit. But for now, we're just going to continue on. Just as a quick thing, I recommend you also to test out what it looks like with in regards to different values. So for example, right now, if I were to change the density and lower this down a little bit, whilst changing the length, you should get something like this. Length randomness, we can also change that up a little bit, like so. I think the length is a little bit too much for that. I'm going to lower this down. And yeah, everything seems to be working quite well on my end. So in the next lesson, we're going to talk a little bit in regards to getting ourselves some more random values. If we want, for example, not only the paths to be coming from one point, we'll also be talking about how we can just randomize the points a little bit to, in case we want to have more organic type of a look, in case we just want the vines to be growing from random points. We're going to find out how to do all of that. So yeah, that's going to be it from this lesson. Thank you so much for watching, and I will be seeing you in a bit.